Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with this week's Think Tank guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. Just take the next 3 minutes. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So, uh, take the next 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then uh, go and visit these sponsors. You're going to be glad you did. We want to say thanks to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. You've heard me say before, Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. It's scheduling, it's rosters, it's results. But for me, their athletic clearance and eligibility platform was the best feature. It's got to be seen to believe. Go to hometowncampus.com. That's it, hometowncampus.com. We want to thank our friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We'd like to thank Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for digital ticketing, fee-free fundraising, and athletic websites. Whether you're an athletic director, a coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for you to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. You can learn more at hometown.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and their team is going to have you creating world-class content in seconds. It's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. And whether it's a social media post celebrating a win, a newsletter telling your stakeholders all the great things you're doing, or more, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com for more information. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables, and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're completing your master's, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, my school, we use surveys for everything, for kids, coaches, parents. And here's the cool part. The information that would come back was almost always over the top positive, and it'll be the same for you. But it also connected us to the squeaky wheel parent so we could hear those concerns, usually small ones, and address them before they turned into something big. But having that positive feedback, that 98% approval, was tremendously valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com.
Okay.
Welcome back, everybody, to another segment that we're calling the AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. Regular listeners to the podcast will recognize the name Rob Seymour. Rob was on the podcast. He's been in one of our TOOLBOX books. He's a tremendous resource. He's very active at the state level, at the national level. He is the director of athletics at Fishers High School. That's in Indiana. And somebody we like to call a friend of the show. So, welcome back to the AD Think Tank, Rob.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, that means a lot for you to when you make the term there, friend of the show, because I know you've had some really good guests on here, and it's always fun to see them at the national conference and to run into you. So that means a lot. Thank you.
Oh, well, absolutely. We're honored to have you on this show and excited to hear what you have on this segment of the Think Tank for our listeners.
Yeah, so I want to kind of continue on with trying to give some clarity to the chaos. So chaos to clarity and the value of perspective in athletic administration. So I want to start off with today, kind of giving a little bit of background to myself as an athletic administrator. I'm in my 31st year of education. I've been an administrator for 17 and an athletic director. This is my 11th year. And I think it's important to know and point out that I feel like I've had 31 years of unique experience. I've not had 31 years of the same year. And that's just kind of a personality trait that I kind of have. I back in my early years of teaching, I did teach with someone that first day of school opened up the three ring binder and they taught the same first day lesson every year. And I've just never been that type of individual. I taught 10 classes a day my first year, and there was, the last five classes of the day completely looked different than the first five, even though the objective was the same. So I've just have always been one that's I'm trying to get better, and just that. So that's just again 31 years of unique experience. I think that's what I would encourage everyone to do is have unique experiences as you enter athletic administration. So early on, and I think another thing is important to know is, and I've talked about this before on your podcast here, is just that my purpose. I quickly, I defined my purpose in athletic administration and being an educational leader, and that is to create caring and supportive relationships that honor community and inspire competitive grit. And that came from when I was growing up. I was very fortunate. I grew up in a community of caring and supportive adults. Some of my best relationships were people, teachers in my community, in my school, that didn't even teach or coach my sport. I just had great relationships across the board. And that's what I really try to look at, the lens I try to look at the profession and I approach leadership is, again, being a caring and supportive relationship within my community. So as we, again, we go into athletic administration. I'm a marathon runner. I like to run long distances. And when you're out there running on the road, a lot of times it's you and your what's that little voice inside your head. And so I'm big on mantras. I'm big on sayings that help you get through. A couple of the ones for running is like that I always use is there's pain on the other side, or there's life on the other side of pain. That's what I used to tell my runners all the time. But in educational administration, which is what we're talking about, education-based athletics, I also have some mantras that I've developed over the years that I think are important, and they've kind of helped me. They help me with my perspective again, which is what I'm going to get to in today's discussion. And so, number one is pursue growth. I always try to be better tomorrow than I am today. And that's what I also, people that I lead, ask them the same thing. Hey, let's get the trajectory in the right direction so that you're better tomorrow than you are today. That's a growth mindset. And if we can get people to value that, I think it's going to go a long way. Second thing that I always say is do what's right for kids. If we put kids first, and when we are, no matter what our decision is, we might be completely wrong in what we do. But if someone can tell me I did this I did this with my heart because I thought it was the best for kids. I can stand up for that as a leader. I can help them. I can help them give professional development. I can help them see some different perspectives. So if someone's saying I want to be better tomorrow, and someone's saying I'm going to do what's right for kids, those are really simple for me as a leader to back and support. So the other couple other things that I think are important that I always try to pursue is just to think differently. I like to explore creative ways to do things. I like to think outside the box. And then with that, I like to be bold and courageous, right? Sometimes you don't know if something's going to work, but I'm okay at being the first one to step out on that branch and try something new. So, in my years of being an athletic administrator, we've done new websites, we've done some new initiatives, and people come to me and I'm like, hey, let's try it. I don't know. We'll see. And so that's, some things I think are important. And then a quote that I really love that I always use a lot with an educational administration, athletic administration is that one race represents months of training, each step the product of many miles of preparation. So this is a quote from the book Once a Runner. And if you are a runner and haven't read that book, I would strongly encourage you to do that. Um, but what that quote means to me is that the networking in our profession, right? Like what I do on a daily basis is the result of conversations I've had with ADs across the state of Indiana, across the country, coaches within my community. Like I'm a result of all of those relationships, and I value all of those relationships because I know it makes me a better leader. So, kind of getting going on and moving forward into the topic of today, which is the chaos that we face, the distractors that we face as athletic administrators. We've got our daily tasks that we have to do, like scheduling and hiring and buses and transportation and facilities. We have all those daily tasks that can weigh us down. We have the demands of others. Anybody that, their email will tell you that, right? You are constantly getting emails with other people's requests. You're getting phone calls with other people's requests, and we have to kind of handle those as they come to us. We have some immature skill sets that we have to deal with as athletic administrators. And those aren't just me looking out the window. That's me looking in the mirror too, right? Like there's some things that I have to grow at times through. And there's also I have to help other people grow through at times. So we all have room to grow, and sometimes we deal with those immature skill sets. And then we have visionary long-term things we want to see for our departments. And those again take up some of our time and add some stress to our positions, maybe self-induced stress. And then you have, obviously, everybody has their own personal responsibilities with family. So all this chaos, these are all distractors that can make our job more difficult. And really what we are wanting out of athletic administration, we're always wanting the same thing. We want it to be an enjoyable experience, and we want longevity. We've got a lot of turnover in this profession, and if we can get new athletic directors to have a great experience and to stay in the profession, then it makes everybody's job a lot easier. We can all share the lifting. So I think what's really important is just perspective. And when you think about perspective, I'm going to use the term situational indifference. Sometimes I think in our profession, you kind of want to be really nice and even keel. You don't want to be super high or super low. And sometimes it's best, I feel like, if you just have some situational indifference to things, because indifference isn't apathy. It's what it is it's choosing to not assign unnecessary emotion or feelings to situations. So, when things happen, they're not positive or negative. They're just an event. Our mind is what makes something positive or negative. So what we want to do is learn to be a little bit indifferent to some of those things. And when a challenging situation occurs, look at it as an opportunity to advance your skill sets. Okay. So that's really important, I think, and if you're always saying like, this is negative and I'm going into it with a negative mindset, I'm going to lose the ability to grow. So again, that situational indifference and having the proper perspective to tough and challenging situations, I think is one of the key things to being a leader in education-based athletics. Second thing I have is a quote, and Jake, anytime you have questions, feel free to interrupt me. I'm just going to keep rolling here though. The second thing I think is important is a quote that I like, and this does not have to upset you. And again, this is a quote that I will give as advice to individuals, and it's a quote that I always say to myself as things are happening. So there's always going to be events that happen to us, kind of the old focus three, the event plus the response equals the outcome. And so when you have this quote in your head that this does not have to upset you, when something happens or something occurs, just again, be indifferent to it and figure out, how am I going to move forward? How am I going to help someone get better? How am I going to get better? And again, if I'm not going to let it be upsetting to me, then I'm gonna think and respond with much more clarity. I used to tell one of my coaches a long time ago that my job is to help support them. And if they are reactive, nuclear reactive, then I'm going to have a hard time supporting them to the best of my ability. But if they are responsive and they can just learn how to control their emotions and respond to situations, then that's going to be much easier for me to help them and help them grow. So again, that's the second thing is again, just things don't have to upset you. That's a choice that you make. Third thing I have is this too shall pass. So there's been some tough situations that I've had to face as an athletic administrator, or as a dean of students when I was in that role. And those can be very stressful times. And I think what I've learned as I've gotten older into my administrative career is just knowing that this storm will pass. And you again use your experiences, look at it with the proper perspective, opportunity to grow. Um, and there's going to be, and also the other thing is like, don't be afraid to apologize. Don't be afraid to say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake and I apologize for that. Um, but in the grand scheme of it is this too shall pass. So I think that's really important. Another, key component of having the proper perspective for athletic administration. Um, and then just to conclude, and I know I'm a little shorter than the last time we spoke, but just to conclude, again, like, know your purpose, know the lens of which you want to lead from. Go through that process, identify what your true purpose of being an educational leader. It can't be that you love sports. It just cannot be that. That can't be your purpose. Your purpose has got to be something deeper into your heart and soul than just what happens whistle to whistle. Um, and then perspective, it'll give you clarity if you can have the right perspective. And again, the key things I have is, this too shall pass, and this doesn't have to upset you. And so those are just some perspectives that I think that are important to me and that have helped me over my career of administration and athletic administration, Jake.
Well, you probably saw me scribbling down, down all those notes. Great stuff. And you bring to mind, at least for me, this idea of to really become a successful director of athletics, you need some experience to give you the perspective that you're talking about. And here's where I'm going with this. I'm curious to your comment. 100 years ago, I'm a lot older than you. When I was in college, there was no undergraduate major. There was no, and I don't mean to denigrate any of the current programs. There was no sport management. There was no athletic director track. It just didn't exist. You became a teacher if you wanted to. Then you started to coach, and somewhere along the line, you might take a generic administration course, and maybe get in that AD role and start progressing your way through the career. Now there are a lot of, and they're great programs. Um, Sport administration, athletic administration programs, mostly at the master's level. Although I have seen some undergraduate programs in athletic administration, and I just think it's setting the student up for a little bit of initial disappointment because it's going to be next to impossible to get hired as a school AD, right out of college without having those experiences that you and I have had in our many years,
Yeah.
that allow us to have the perspective when you're dealing with kids, coaches, parents, etc. Am I just overthinking this? Am I the cranky old man on his front porch? What are your thoughts on that, very niche conversation I just created?
Jake, I think that is a concern that I've experienced, or thought through as well. I think that, again, a very traditional path for me, coach, teacher, went into dean of students, and then, for 6 years, and then moved into athletic administration. And I feel like I have been blessed by my years as a dean of students. My principal at the time, um, he viewed things as a hierarchy. Like, you start off with a dean, as a dean, because you're dealing with some tough conversations. You're not evaluating, you're not hiring and firing, but you're learning some really tough skill sets of dealing with conflict. And then you go into his next thing is you go into being an athletic director. Now you're starting to evaluate. Now you're starting to, again, deal with some tougher conversations. Um, and you're doing some evaluations, and then you move on that to assistant principal and principal if that's something you desire to do. Um, when I look at individuals that are coming from a non-traditional path to athletic administration, my concern is not putting on the game. It's not, holding an event like that. It's dealing with the administrative workload, the conflict resolution, and again, having that experience to one, handle the situation properly, or two, handle it in a way that you aren't going to get so burnt out that you're done in a year and a half because you're just, you're tired and it's hard. It's hard. Um, so yeah, I do have some concerns about that. One thing that I think was important, one thing that happens now is like you got to think through like every kid, I try to tell our coaches all this, because of social media, because of the fact that they can look at something and decide whether they like it or dislike it, it's thumbs up or thumbs down. They make thousands of decisions a day, right? And they're making those decisions by watching interactions that have nothing to do with them. So you take a coach or an athletic director and how you interact with every single person, there's 100 other people watching, thumb up, thumb down, right? They're deciding what they think of you like that. And one thing that in my growth as an administrator, what I did is I started doing kind of the same thing before social media. I would watch the leaders and I would say, I like their style. I like what they're doing. I like the message they're sending. And I would try to then take that in and put it in my toolbox. Or I would look at it and say, yeah, that's not really how I think that should be handled. And so therefore, then that would direct me in a different way. So hopefully young administrators that don't have the experience because of the traditional path, hopefully they are watching and learning and being reflective on how, veteran ADs are doing things, because really that's otherwise they're going to have to learn really the hard way. And that's just by, being tossed to the fire. And that's tough.
Yeah, again, we're always looking for that next generation of coaches and ADs and things like that. But it's hard to replace, that experiential component of,
Yeah.
being an athletic director. Great stuff. Rob, as always, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more, and listeners, you have a tremendous resource here. What's the best way that they can get in touch with Rob Seymour?
The easiest thing, and Jake, actually, when you've asked this question before, I thought, man, I should just say that. So I'm going to get on the NIAAA, go to the membership and find my name there. Again, it's Rob Seymour, Fishers, Indiana. All my contact information is there, my email, my phone number, and that's the easiest way. I'm also on Twitter, Rob Seymour 71. But again, if you want to reach out and have discussions, I'd be thrilled to have them with you. But that's go to the NIAAA website and go to the membership, and you should be able to find me there.
All right. Well, appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to share with our listeners. All the best as we move to wrap up the 2025 school year, and we'll look forward to seeing you the next time.
Thank you, Jake.
For listeners, we want to say thanks to you, and we also remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this segment just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of education-based athletics. So come back and join us again on another segment of the AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. As always, we wouldn't be able to do this without our great sponsors. So please go and check them out. Gipper, Huddle, Ohio University's Online Masters, Home Campus, Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards, Hometown Ticketing, Snap Raise, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, K-12 Sports Tech, and Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. We'll see you again next time on the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks for listening.